Good afternoon. So, the current job market is pretty dire and has been for the last 12 to 18 months, or at least that's the experience that most people who speak to me have had. They tell me that they are applying for multiple jobs and either they are not hearing anything back or they get the dreaded brush off, or if they do get through to interview, they're coming second or third. Um, and yeah, that's a common experience. And I think the reason for a lot of that is because companies are recruiting. They have been recruiting, and if you look at the stats, recruiting levels have been relatively high, but they're actually not recruiting through active means, or there are so many applicants going after the actual active jobs that most people are going to get, not going to be successful. So the issue here is then volumes of people going after few jobs. Um, and that's always going to be the case to some greater or lesser extent, even in a buoyant market where there are plenty of jobs knocking around and not so many candidates who are looking because they're all gainfully employed. There's still more people going after those active jobs than there are capacity to deal with, if you get my drift. Always the case. But there's another way. It doesn't have to be like that at all. The thing is that with the active job market, you have agencies, you have companies, all vying for their share of the active candidates, and quite often they are all chasing exactly the same roles. So you're getting one job that could be appearing as many as 20 plus times. And so therefore, a lot of the time when you're not you're hearing back is because actually you've applied to the same job about 3 or 4 times. and that's why you're not hearing back. And a lot of the time, and because there are so many companies that are vying for that, they all want their cut of it, as it were. It's a highly contended market. And so you've got candidates who are being pushed through, the same candidate who are being pushed through multiple times from different sources. And it's all sort of a bit of a quagmire of confusion, I think, is probably the only way to describe it. Okay, but as I said, there's a better way. So what's that better way? So the better way is simple as this: avoid active job market. Simple. If you can avoid the active job market, you're going to find far less competition and actually far more jobs. There's a 70-30 divide between active jobs and what I call passive jobs. So let me explain that. The 30% let's do it the other way around. 70% of all jobs filled are not filled through advertising. Now that's a pretty remarkable statement. I know that. And I've got to justify it, so I will. The reason why 70% of roles are not filled through the active market is simply this: they're filled either directly through networks, or they're filled through headhunters. In other words, people that are not advertising, or they're filled through referrals. So that is 70% of the market. Now, let me justify the 70%. There is a variance between executive level, where it's probably closer to 80-90%, and shall we say, professional but low level professional, new entry or just above new entry, well, it's probably 40 to 50% are not filled through the active market. And the reason, you can probably understand when I put it that way why that might be the case. It's certainly the higher up the tree you go, there's fewer people. I'm disappearing here. I can see that's basically the light. So let's put that light on me there. There's fewer people at the upper echelons, shall we say, but it's a more directed search. And so the reason why people it's not effective to go through an advertised market is because a lot of these people are not actively looking to start with, and therefore have to be contacted to be enticed away, or if you send an ad out there, it's got a low probability of hitting anything. So you use headhunters, you use uh, uh, other means, shall we say. These days, of course, those other means are trying to get some recruiter to send through emails or in-mails or whatever. Varying degrees of success or failure on that. To actually attract somebody at that level takes skill, and it takes somebody who knows what they're doing. If you've got an executive level person, let's say a VP of sales or a VP, tech VP of some sort or another, they're not easily going to be swayed into going for a job when they're not even considering it. It takes skill to do that. So the higher up the level, the more likely it is that one-on-one contact between a decision maker and potential candidate, or between a qualified, skilled headhunter and that particular individual that they're targeting. And in those cases, it's quite often the case that they target literally individuals as opposed to a particular job brand. As you come down, it all increases, and the mechanism for attracting people, it's not easier. It still takes a lot of skill, but it also takes somebody who is qualified to qualify. So somebody who understands the match between the role and the candidate that's being considered. It's no good just sort of going, oh, okay, he's got that skill, throw him in. He's got that skill, throw him in. What does that skill actually mean? What do you actually do with it? What have they actually achieved, etc., etc. Those are the sorts of questions that come in at that. So and then you come down the level, of course, down to where we get in 50-50. And this is really then just about referrals and internal network and things like that, where people are known quite well. So when I say 70-30, that's the justification for it. It is factual that 70% of jobs are not filled through advertising at the levels that I tend to be dealing with. That's people like yourself, people who are professionals within technology, who have specific skills and experience that are in demand, and where it takes more than just an advert to attract somebody. Obviously, if somebody's looking for a job and they're looking out for the adverts, they will be going for those adverts, and they will apply for those adverts. But most of the time people are not actually engaged in an active search. They may be interested in making the move. They may see a job and apply. But what I'm trying to say here is that if you look at the hyperactive market, so people that are actually engaged in looking for a job, it's a small percentage, 5 to 10% of people that are actually involved in that. At the moment, it's a little higher because there's been a job dearth for a considerable period of time, and people are feeling uneasy within roles that they're in for various reasons. But as the market's improving, that will stabilize a little bit. So what I'm trying to say with all of that is that if you are interested in looking for a job, actively looking for a job, there are going to be more jobs available that are not advertised. They're there, they exist, they get filled, and they get filled through various mechanisms. Now, what do I mean by various mechanisms, and how can you engage with it? So, as a headhunter myself for 20 years, the techniques that we use to look for opportunities, which basically meant taking a highly qualified individual into the market and marketing that highly qualified, in demand individual to uncover where roles were. That's one of the techniques that you can use for yourself. So you're a highly qualified individual. You have vast experience in certain areas which are in demand. You know where you're in demand. You know the people that are going to be interested in you, and you know the value that you offer to those people. It's simply about going in, knocking on the door, and offering them that value and engaging with them. You're not saying, give me a job. You're saying, I offer this value. Let's talk about how this might be mutually beneficial for your organization and for me, to see if there's a coming together somewhere. If not now, maybe in the future. And that's the process of exploiting the hidden job market. Now, if it were that simple, everybody would be doing it. It isn't that simple. It takes skill, it takes experience, it takes know-how, and that's something that you can learn. And I'm somebody that can teach it you. Well, that's exactly where I would be going, isn't it? Um, I'm a career consultant. I show people the how to get a job. I show people how to position themselves. I show people how to present their value into the market, and I show them how to get at the opportunities that exist. Now, whether you're looking for a job today, or you only you may be interested just to explore potential opportunities, or you maybe think that you're going to be needing to look for a job in the near future. Let me put it this way: the whole mechanism for getting at the passive job market is an ongoing process. It's not something that you turn to when you want a job and go, I'll engage it now. You have to be doing it constantly. You're preparing the ground ahead on a constant basis. You're reaching out, you're creating or looking for where these opportunities might exist on an ongoing basis. And if you rely on just simply the here and now, it works. You will engage. You will get people who will come back to you. You will get opportunities, but you get a lot more if you're doing it constantly. There's nothing wrong, for example, with having exploratory meetings with people on an ongoing basis with different people within the industry. The very least you get is you get a connection. You build your network, you build up relationships, you build up business opportunities, and you build up potential future opportunities for yourself or even for them in your business. So there's a mutual beneficial approach to the whole thing. The more you do it, the more you'll understand how valuable it is for you and for the companies that you're approaching. They will see it. They do see it. Uh, you know, will you get response? The simple answer to that is yes. 9 times out of 10 you will, because most decision makers understand that they need quality candidates when they need them, and they can't simply start looking every single time. If they know where people are and they can just turn to them straight away, if they've got 2 or 3 people that they can turn to and go, look, there's an opportunity now, are you interested to explore this further, then that's great for them. If and similarly for yourself, if you've got 2 or 3 companies where you know there's potential opportunities, if the need arises, you can reach out and knock on the door immediately. You've already prepared the ground, you've already prepared the way. This is the career mastery revolution. This is the other way of doing things. This is how you can control your career. This is how you can impact the whole market and be influential in the market. Career mastery then, career mastery revolution. So let me, let me talk about a course that I have available that teaches exactly what I've just been talking about. It explains in a lot more detail than I have in 10-15 minutes about how and why there is a passive job market, and it goes into a lot more detail of how you can exploit that market, the techniques, how to present yourself, how to create your profile in such a way that people will take notice of it, how you can convey to people the value you bring, how you can convey to people the impact you'll have. That's what my online course is about, and the link that's on the screen now is the link that will get you there. It's also in the description of this video, so explore it further, have a look at it. If you are not convinced yet but would like to talk to me more about it, then this link, not this one, so you can schedule a consultation. The link will be in the description. I've got to add it yet, but I'll be adding it after this video is finished. And you can set up a 20-minute call with me, and we can talk about how you and I can work together to get you into the role that you really want, working for a company that you really admire, and at a salary that is a true reflection of your value. This is James Foster. This is the Careers Mastery Revolution.